You're tuned in to RBLR, the home of Tampa Bay's Reveler Sports.
4 seconds left. In front. Happy moment. The Tampa Bay Lightning have won the first Stanley Cup. And the Tampa Bay Lightning have won the Stanley Cup. Lightning strikes twice. The Tampa Bay Lightning win their second straight Stanley Cup.
Welcome into RBLR Lightning. My name is Chris. Got another great show planned here for you guys tonight. And along with me for the ride is two great gentlemen. First, I'll bring in Mr. Jake Ricker. Jake, how are you doing on this lovely evening here in Tampa, Florida?
I'm doing good, Chris. Ready to talk about some more Lightning hockey. There's been a lot going on over this past week. Interesting things to start talking about as we get closer and closer to the playoffs. And we now know officially every team that's going to be in, just waiting for those final matchups to be set. Can't wait to talk about it all with you guys.
Lots to talk about. And along with me for the ride is Matt. Matt, man, how are you doing, man? Are you feeling depressed after the loss last night, or are you feeling okay?
No, not necessarily. I think we have a lot to take away from the game, both good and bad. But, I'm just mainly happy we got a full forward lineup going on right now.
Lots to get into here. First, we'll get into some news here, some good stuff on the Bolt side. Vasilevsky is now over 10,000 saves for his career. Says a lot. They did a little thing for him last night on the board while we were there at the game last night. And so the crowd got to see that he hit his 10,000 save, and then everyone was cheering for him. So it was pretty cool for a guy who's only 27. Constantly puts the team on his back. Obviously, he's having a little down year this year, but I think a lot of it has to do with fatigue and some other stuff going on, which we'll get into here soon. But Jake, what more can you say about Vasilevsky? I mean, 27 years old, and the guy's already had 10,000 saves.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. He's still on pace to become one of the greatest goaltenders of our generation. I believe if he plays long enough, he will break a lot of Martin Brodeur's records, who holds some of the best records in the NHL for goaltenders. And he continues to be unbelievable and make save after save that just makes your jaw drop, and it just really seems like he's not human. And 10,000 is a huge accomplishment, and he's done it in such few games as well. He still has so much time left in his career. I would not be shocked to see him hit 20,000 at some point.
Yeah, and it's a lot of saves for a guy that's only at 27. So you're right, definitely going to be on the rise. Probably going to hit 20,000 at some point, which is crazy to think. Matt, what you got to say about Vasilevsky, man? 10,000 saves. It's pretty cool to be able to have him represent the Lightning out there.
It's not every day you get a player when you can guarantee them as a lock for a Hall of Fame player at the young age of 27. And Vasilevsky he's proven it each year, and hopefully more to come, that he is already a Hall of Fame player if he retired today. 10,000 is just unbelievable. And, like what you said, Jake, it's just every game in and out. He makes unbelievable saves that just get the whole building ramped up, whether it be home or away. It's absolutely spectacular what this guy can do and still does. Again, at 27, it's honestly still in my realm young for a goalie. And to have that resume that he already has built up, Hall of Fame lock, first ballot, send it in.
Absolutely, man. It's great that Vasilevsky, obviously, like I said, he represents the Lightning. What a great goalie to have. He saved us time and time again. So big thanks to Vasilevsky, and it's an awesome achievement already in his early career. So some other news: the Bolts did re-sign Elliott to a 1-year extension worth $900,000. Obviously, Elliott's been a great backup. His past 2 games, but back-to-back shutouts. He's finally getting the team to play well in front of him. He's come up with some really, really big saves for us too, for a backup goalie who people thought was, washed up and done, where the Lightning had struggled with backup goalies for a while. And I think we finally solidified a solid backup behind Vasy. And obviously with Vasy kind of having a down year, as we would say here as Lightning fans, allowing some weak goals that we don't think Vasy would normally allow and things like that. But obviously, Elliott's played a huge role for us, so this extension is a good sign. It's only 1 year, but hey, that's the time to win is now, and I'd rather lock him up for another year if we need a good backup behind Vasy to get Vasy some rest. So, Jake, how do you feel about this 1-year extension for Elliott?
I love it. He's been unbelievable for us, and has been the backup that we've been hoping for. He's doing really good when he's even got fans thinking that maybe he should start in the postseason over Vasilevsky, which is just crazy, by the way. But the fact that people are even thinking that shows you how well he's been playing. It was frustrating at the beginning when the Lightning weren't able to get him the goal support and get him wins when he was playing so well and keeping them in games, but they've started to do that recently. So to have Elliott locked up for another year under $1 million is fantastic. I'm glad we're having him around, and hopefully we can win him a cup here in this upcoming postseason. But he has been fantastic, no question about it. He's been on a tear as of late as well, and he's going to be playing a couple more games down this stretch, so we're going to need him some more here at the end of the season.
Matt, Elliott, 1-year extension. I know you've always liked Elliott as a backup, so how are you feeling about this 1-year deal?
I was really pondering getting myself a Moose jersey. I really was. But the last time I felt confident, before Elliott was with the team, the last time I felt confident in one of our backup goalies to, maybe steal us a game or something was when that backup goalie was Andrei Vasilevsky. And I know, he's 37. He's not going to turn into Vasilevsky or anything like that. But again, it's been years since we've really, at least me personally can say, Elliott's starting or any given backup in the last 5 years is starting. It's been a while since I can really say okay, I think we can win this game or, not have any worries about losing it, So I've got a lot of comfort in him. I never, as the season's gone on, I doubt him less and less and less and know that he's just getting comfortable. Elliott, he's done this for, the better half of his life, this time around, and he's done everything we could have asked for and then some. So I'm extremely excited to have him locked up for $900,000 for another year. Can't ask for much more than that.
Yeah, you can. And it's when you can have a backup that can go in there and fill in for a guy like Vasy and know that, wow, we actually got a chance to win this game. That's definitely a good sign. So this 1-year deal, I think is a really good sign to keep the Moose around and keep just, the energy in the locker room. Sometimes that backup goalie can bring the energy that the team needs at some point. So obviously good to lock him up.
And one thing too is, credit to all of the fans in the arena. Like if he makes a good save, I'm starting to hear some Moose chants as well. So good on everybody.
They're coming, man. The Moose chants are coming, so it's good. People are getting behind Elliott. They're seeing the hard work he's putting in. It's good to see be able to have a backup goalie like that. Someone that can we know they can go out there and get us a win when you got to give a guy like Vasy a night off. So some other news: Victor Hedman, new career best, 73 points. Hedman's 19 goals this year, another really solid year from Hedman. I think this is one of his best seasons I think he's had overall. He looks healthy. He doesn't really look tired at all compared to the rest of the team. I think Hedman, night in and night out, pretty much gives his best. I've seen him make some mistakes here and there, but most of the time it's inconsistent, and he bounces right back with a really solid game. So I'm going to ask you here first, Matt. What have you seen from Hedman this year for to be able to obviously hit a career high in points?
Every defenseman, they make mistakes. Even Nick Lidstrom does, and I think it's just being able to capitalize on those mistakes, or at least not let them sit with you, like I think he may have in years past. And even in years past, his Norris Trophy winning season, he's grown from there. To me, obviously I'm a homer for the Lightning, but in my honest opinion, he is the best defenseman in the NHL. I know Cale Makar and Adam Fox are both, shiny new toys for the NHL and their fans. But I think if you want somebody that does everything, not perfectly, but does everything very, very well and is in that upper echelon of defensemen, you're going to get a Victor Hedman. I'm not sure what it is this year that really separates him from years prior. Definitely being healthy helps, and just honestly having a little bit more trust in his defensive partners. I know not that it's been a revolving door, but it seems like he's finally found a good rhythm with Jan Ruda. I think Ruda, as the season's gone on, he's made less and less mistakes just because he knows, Hedman, he's going to be jumping up on the play. And I think they both work well together. And that's why they've been paired up for essentially the whole season. So I think just being comfortable with his defense partners and, playing at least majority of the season healthy, that definitely works in his favor.
Jake, how are you feeling about Hedman this year, man? 73 points. And I know you got a couple other stats that you can go ahead and give us that are coming up here in these next couple games that we should be able to see some Bolts break some more records.
Yeah, Hedman has been fantastic. He's been consistent this year, healthy. Consistency is the big thing for him year in and year out. He's always going to be a solid all-around defenseman, as Matt said. Matt, you pretty much nailed it there. But it's such nice to have a guy like that on your defense that you can count on game in and game out. And I completely agree with Matt too that Ruda has been a solid defensive partner for him. It's nice that the Lightning haven't had to deal with rotating him around too much. There's some other questions on that defensive side that we'll have to get into, but Hedman has been consistent and he's done really well at jumping up on the play this year and getting involved again in scoring goals. We saw it like in the Seattle Kraken game, for example, where he came all the way down to find that rebound and put in the back of the net and score a goal. That's the kind of thing he can do, and he knows when to do it and when the best time is to create those offensive chances, but not give up odd man rushes. It still happens with him sometimes, but again, he's consistent and just such a solid overall defenseman. And as for some of those upcoming records, it's funny, I was looking a while ago at what some of the records Lightning, if they were getting any close to any, and there was nothing. And now all of a sudden we have about 20 different Lightning players that are ready to break records. But Stamkos is now just 1 point away from becoming the all-time leader scorer for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So that's very, very exciting as he tied it in that game against Detroit. He's looking to break it, hopefully against Toronto, and hopefully in a win this time. That would be nice. Kucherov, he's also 1 point away from hitting 600 career points. Braden Point, he's 1 assist away from hitting 200 career assists, which would be 10th all time for the Tampa Bay Lightning. That ties Tyler Johnson in the record book. So yeah, a lot of records. Killorn as well is 2 points away from hitting 400. So big career week, if you will, for the Lightning in hitting some of these milestones and records.
It's a lot to look forward to, man, along with the playoffs coming up. So we do have some games to go over here. We have 3 games to actually cover here, along with the Ducks, the Jets, and the devastating Red Wings game last night. But before we get into that Red Wings game, this Ducks game, I think it was one of those games where I went into it thinking, okay, this is a sleeper game. The Ducks got nothing to play for. The Lightning are under a little bit of pressure here to try to, finally lock up a playoff spot and get in there. So, the Lightning were able to go up early in this one 2-0, and you're thinking, okay, well, here we go. The Bolts are going to run away with this one. But nope. Second period, Anaheim was able to score 3 straight goals off tips and deflections, and a lot of people were blaming Vasy. I don't necessarily think this game was Vasy's fault. I think a lot of those pucks in front of the net were tipped, and immediately after all this happened, obviously Vasy was pulled. Which we don't see often at all. I was shocked. I was surprised. I didn't know what was going on. Obviously, they were saying that Cooper was trying to send a message to the team. Man, I don't remember the last time I saw Vasy pulled. Besides that, I know they said it during the game, but crazy to see Vasy being pulled. Obviously, Cooper's trying to definitely send a message to the guys. Elliott came in, though, played a great game, under a lot of pressure to come in. And like I said, we talked about filling a role for Vasy, who, when he gets pulled, obviously something's not right. So Elliott was able to come in, save the day for us. Cooch scored a goal in the third with 13 seconds left to send us into overtime. Sorelli picked up the game-winning goal from Alex Killorn on an assist. Jake, man, this Anaheim game, how about Vasy being pulled? Did you, man, were you confused or did you agree with that?
I was confused for sure because It's not Cooper's style whatsoever. He tends to, even when things are getting out of hand, leave his goaltenders in. So here's the stat. The last time Andrei Vasilevsky was pulled from an NHL game was March 13th, 2018. So it has been a long time since that's ever happened. But Cooper clearly saw, and he's been noticing over these last couple of weeks, the Lightning are not in the shape they're supposed to be. They're not playing good hockey. They're not playing consistent hockey. So this was his way of waking up the team. When John Cooper does something that he hasn't done in 4 years, he's trying to send a message. And all of those goals, they were mostly deflections that the Ducks scored. They really weren't Vasy's fault whatsoever. The defense was just breaking down in front of him. And I don't blame Vasilevsky at all for that situation, but Cooper said, okay, clearly I need to send a message loud and clear, and the best way for him to do that was to do something he hadn't done in 4 years and pull Vasilevsky, and it worked because Elliott came in, played fantastic, shut down the Ducks, and the Lightning were able to to get back into this game. So it was a shocking move, but clearly the right one from John Cooper.
Matt, crazy seeing Vasy pulled in the game or what?
So, like when Jake said he was confused, I was double confused. I was waiting on a tow truck, and I was just watching the game there on my phone. The guy comes, I put it down for literally like 3 minutes, pick it back up, and I see, okay, it was 2-0. Now it's 3-2, and Vasilevsky's gone. Didn't see him on the bench, so I didn't know if he got injured. So yeah, I was quite confused, and then I hear on the broadcast like, yeah, Vasilevsky got pulled, whatever. So yeah, I was definitely confused and concerned at first, but Cooper, I believe he said it. It was nothing against Vasilevsky. 3 vicious tips. There's not a whole lot you can do there unless you're in the perfect position. And a lot of the, I think at least 2 of those were screened as well. So again, not a lot you can do there. It definitely 100% was a message to the rest of the team, because if there's anybody that is untouchable, it's Andre Vasilevsky. He'd sell the farm before he would even consider getting rid of Vasilevsky or anything like that. So it definitely was a message to get everybody to just wake up and play the right style of hockey, and I think it definitely worked. Elliott, thank God for him. He really came in and not saved the day, but he definitely had a couple of there were 2 breakaway opportunities that he shut down rather, and made them look like easy stops when in all reality they weren't. So I think the rest of the team, they really perked up after that, even though that second period was still rather anemic the whole way through. In the third, you could see they really got their gears going.
Yeah, it was a weird game, man. Weird vibes in this one. Obviously, you don't like to see Vasy get pulled. You're sitting here wondering what is going on with the team, what's going on right now. So big shout out to Elliott, because I can only imagine the pressure he was under coming into a game where you're seeing Vasy get pulled in the second period, and he's like, "Oh man, it's on me now, man." We're trying to clinch the playoffs. Yes, we were probably going to at some point, but the Bolts just once again a sluggish second period, and it seems to be the inconsistent play of them this year that's cost them a lot of close games instead of playing a full 60 minutes. Because when we see the Lightning play a full 60 minutes, we all know what they're capable of, and that's how they've won back-to-back cups. So when they can put full games together, good things will happen. Obviously, moving into this Jets game, it was the big game of the year where they were giving out the replica rings to everyone who attended this game. Wish I could have gone. They looked really, really neat. This game started off weird again, man. Winnipeg was firing away, scoring goals. We were down early in this game. Bolts were able to come away with 7 goals in an explosion in the third period. Cooch got 2 goals. Kaloran got on the board. Nick Paul, who's been a great trade, great pickup. He's played awesome for us, able to get on the board. Stamkos finally got on the board again. Elliott played in this one as well, giving some Vasy a night off. Just an overall crazy game. A little sluggish, like I said early on. They seem to finally put it together and wake up there for a little bit. But I think us as Lightning fans, we're kind of at the point where we're over these sluggish and slow starts when we know what this team's capable of. You can only be down so much in games and expect the team to come back. So that's one thing we've talked about this year a lot is what are the Bolts going to do come playoff time? Is this team going to show up and play a full 60 minutes, or are we going to get a 20-minute team game and they only show up in the third period, and we're already at that point, we're already down 2-1, and you're not going to get those calls like you would in a regular season game. So Jake, man, how were you feeling about this Winnipeg game? Obviously we were able to come away with a victory, but definitely a sloppy start for the Lightning in this one.
Yeah, they kind of went back and forth in the first period, ended up tied at the end of one, and then Winnipeg started to take over there in the second period, but the Lightning finally put their foot down and started running things away with it, ended up winning this one 7-4. It's like you said, the concern is, when you get into the playoffs, you're not going to have that opportunity. You've got to play full 60 minutes if you want a chance to win these kinds of games. But the good news out of this game was that the Lightning did finally figure it out and say, hey, this is not going the way we need it to go. And they fixed their game. They jumped on top of every opportunity they got and scored goal after goal and ended up winning this one big. So it's good that they can clearly recognize when they're struggling and they have issues, and they know how to fix them, because we saw them do it in this game in the middle of that second period. It just seemed like a switch kind of flipped on for them in this one. As for Nick Paul, as you mentioned him, he has by far been the best trade acquisition that the Lightning got this year, even in recent years. He has been fantastic. I've loved the ways he's played. I know Phil Esposito's loving him because he shoots the puck a lot.
Yep.
He's a fast skater too, which a lot of people didn't peg him for originally because he's a bigger guy. He's good physically. He can play on almost any line. I have loved Nick Paul. Now we could just get Brandon Hagel going a little bit more. That would be fantastic for the Bolts and a big help come playoff time. But Nick Paul has definitely been one of the better players on this team in recent weeks.
You know what sets Nick Paul apart from a lot of the other players on this team is that he really uses his feet. Not necessarily like a straight line speed, but he's got some really wicked edges. I don't know what he does. I'm the farthest thing from a skating coach, but whatever he does, I mean, it's magic. If like the next game you watch him play, just isolate him for a second, and you'll see he's got some fancy footwork. It's nothing like crazy like McDavid-esque, but just the way that he uses his edges with that big frame and has the ability to, have his hands keep up and with a stick and puck along with it. It's really, really crazy stuff.
This trade definitely worked out better than the Hagel one so far. Kind of like Jake said, obviously we're hoping Hagel can get things going, but Paul's looked really good. Like you said, his skating ability has been crazy. He's allowed two or three backhanded assists now for goals that were crazy passes that somehow able to see in front of the net. So big time trade for Paul. But Matt, in this game, man, the Bolts were able to put 37 shots on goal in this one. Obviously that's a lot of shots for the Lightning. We don't usually see them go over 30 much, 35 much. 37 is a big shot difference to Winnipeg's 18. So what did you see in this game that the Bolts were able to score 7 goals against Winnipeg?
Like Jake said, it was like flipping that switch. I'm not sure like what or like made it happen, but they definitely they dragged Winnipeg into the fight. It is no secret with this team. They play better when they're playing a run and gun physical style game. And when you can drag the other team into it with whether it be fights or just, scrums, whatever it may be, or just, finishing your check if the play's gone. Winnipeg fell into our trap, essentially. Winnipeg, they're not great on the rush. They don't have great rush protection, and the Lightning really took advantage of that. They had really good opportunities of their own, but despite the score being, air quotes here, close, at the end of the day, that game could have been 7-0 or 7-1. Nobody was stopping Kyle Connor on that goal, but otherwise, the score is honestly kind of a liar. We shut them down in the last 30 minutes of the game. I think they came into the first period with 11 shots on goal, finished the second period with maybe 13 or 14, and then, third period, get another 4 shots on while the Lightning pepper you with 37. It was just, I'm not going to call it dominance, but as close as you really can to it. They were honestly toying with their food towards the end.
Yeah, and it was, at this point, it's just one of those games that I'd like to see where Lightning were able to score 7 goals and kind of see what we are capable of when we fire away and take good shots and play smart hockey. This is what this team can do, and we've talked about it before, how many goals this team can score, and it really hasn't happened much this year. Obviously, the Lightning have really struggled this year to play consistently for 60 minutes. So I think that's what it's going to come down to the end of the season is can the Bolts put together some 60-minute games in the playoffs when it counts and play some solid defense here for Vasy in the net. So we do have one more game to go over. Obviously, this Red Wings game, big-time bummer. I was in the stadium last night. What's weird about this game, man? I felt like the first period we really controlled the puck. The forecheck looked good. We had some good shots. Grice had some good saves for Detroit, and I think that I don't know if it sucked away the momentum from the guys, but they kind of came out in that second period just like we couldn't get anything by them. It was almost like they were frustrated to a degree where they wanted to be up and they kind of wanted to just put this game away early and kind of just go into cruise control mode. And when they did that, they kind of fell asleep, allowed some sloppy goals. Obviously, Sergachev at the end, that was just terrible. Another big mistake from Sergachev. He knows better than that. Play around the puck on the blue line, get it stolen, and you're giving up odd man rushes to Vasy all the time. The defense just, people want to point out Vasy all they want. Yeah, he hasn't had his best season, but man, you cannot leave a goalie out to dry this many times. I don't care who you are. I don't care who's in net. Eventually, one of those is going to go in. Now, if you're giving up 1 or 2 odd man rushes and Vasy's allowing both to go in, sure, but if he's saving, man, every other one, that's the best a goalie can do when it's on odd man rushes. These are high percentage shots that the defense is giving up and just making boneheaded mistakes. So, Jake, obviously this was a tough game to swallow. You'd think the Lightning would come out and really crush a team like Detroit. We had owned them lately over the past couple years. Couple games this year were close with Detroit. They had played us pretty well this season. But, Jake, how are you feeling after this bummer Detroit loss?
Bummer is probably the best way to put it. It's what we've been saying this whole episode is the team cannot put together a full 60-minute game. They were dominating in the first period. Even though the score was 0-0 and it was still tied, they were playing very well. They had puck possession. There was nothing to complain about. But then they came out completely flat in that second period, and to Detroit's credit, they took advantage and went up big. Lightning were able to claw their way back into this one and ended up coming 1 goal short, and they had a lot of great shifts at the end of this game, but it's too little too late, and that's the bottom line. I haven't had a problem with Vasilevsky all season long. I think he's him same old self. Sure, there's been a couple here and there where maybe he wants back himself, but listen, overall, Vasilevsky's been fantastic, and there's been so many defensive breakdowns that have been the issue, and you can't do that. You cannot do what they did in the second period when they were playing well. It wasn't even like things weren't going fantastic. They were doing everything right, and then they changed it for some reason. I don't know why, but it's frustrating. And again, as we've said, that's the concerning thing, because if they do that in the playoffs, just like in this game, you're not coming back from it, and there's going to be even better teams that you're playing in the postseason, especially in the Eastern Conference. Every team in the Eastern Conference has an easy case to win the Stanley Cup. They're all extremely talented, very good teams. Pretty much everybody bolstered at the deadline. It's going to be a bloodbath in the East, and you cannot give these teams an inch. And the Lightning have been doing that these last couple of weeks. Now, one thing I will say, there's a couple of different levels, right? You got basically 3 different Lightning fans, right? You have the Lightning fans that are, everything's fine, just wait for the postseason. Then you have the Lightning fans that are going, okay, this is an issue and we need to fix these things, but it's not the end of the world. And then you have the Lightning fans that are in complete panic mode and ready to blow up the entire team. In fact, I saw somebody even say that JBB is a fraud. Don't even want to get started with that. I know. But the bottom line is you want to be in that second spot, right? There's clearly some issues with the Lightning. The Lightning know it. They've been saying, John Cooper's talked about it in these last couple of press conferences. We'll get to something Stamkos said recently as well. They know there's an issue, and it's going to affect them if they don't fix it. But we've seen their ability in some of these games to turn it on, and when they're playing their best hockey, they're unbeatable. So it's not like it's the end of the world, but there are definitely some red flags going on right now that the Lightning have to get fixed before Game 1 of the postseason.
It was a tough loss, man. Tough to be in the building last night. I honestly don't remember the last time I went to a losing game. I think the last time I did was the first game against Columbus in 2019, which led to the sweep. So I haven't seen a losing game at home.
At least they didn't get killed by Toronto when I went to the game. It was 6-2.
I know it's a bummer. You think we would beat a team like Detroit right now, trying to get some momentum going and kind of have these interviews after the games where Cooper's kind of, he knows what needs to be done. So I trust Cooper. I'm with you on the levels of the fans. I think I'm on that top level where I'm like, it's okay. We'll be fine come postseason time. The boys know what it takes. But I am a little concerned about the defense. Obviously, a lot of mishaps and odd man rushes. Can't have that happen come playoff time. So Matt, what did you see in this Red Wings game that led to us losing to Detroit 4-3?
This one's tough to swallow, but the first period, it was utter domination. It wasn't a complete just, pounding of Detroit, but yeah, we had what seemed like every opportunity, every chance, and it was credit to Thomas Greiss. He actually played one hell of a game, but honestly, you can't bank on just getting goalie. That can't be your excuse because we were giving up opportunities later in the game. It seems like the second period is becoming the Lightning's Achilles heel, at least over the last couple of weeks. That's what it seems like. They just, come out at least strong in the first. Second period comes around, they're just like, long change. I don't feel like putting all the effort in. Obviously I'm exaggerating, and then they just want to play catch up. That's what it seems like, at least. And I think they fell victim to that same mindset in this game. I thought overall the Lightning, they played better. But Detroit, they just took advantage of opportunities. They saw a couple glaring holes and just had to capitalize on them. I can't blame Detroit for the way that they played. They played well. They played really well, and they kind of sucked us into how they wanted to play. Detroit, honestly, they've been shut out a couple of times this year. That they don't have like an MO. They don't have a way that they play. But they play in a similar way to how the Lightning won their games in the final, or not the finals, but the whole playoffs last year, is that they would play your style of game. And we got sucked into their trap, kind of the reverse way we won against Winnipeg. They got sucked into our trap. And really they just outlasted us, took advantage of defensive lapses. Sergachev, what are you going to do on that play? You can only point fingers at him. I hate to point fingers at our players, but that one was just kind of boneheaded.
Bad move on Sergachev. Yeah, that was definitely Sergachev's fault. He's done that quite a few times, those turnovers like that. So definitely a bad move on his part.
You ready for a hot take?
Yeah, yep, go for
it.
The
Lightning are tanking so that they can play Carolina in
the Anything's possible. I would hate to say that they're tanking, but you never know.
First round.
Yeah, you never know. It's possible. It's possible. I hate to say it seems tanking, but you never know with the Lightning. It's frustrating because you got a team like the Bolts who we know what they're capable of. I think it's just about them doing it. So obviously us watching them lose in all these games, we're panicking and we've become spoiled to a degree of, wow, the Lightning shouldn't lose games. We've become so spoiled as fans to where we're surprised when the Lightning lose a game here and there. So I think overall, I think it's just wear and tear on the boys. Obviously, I think the defense does need to get cleaned up, but I do think Vasilevsky is fine. I think everything will be okay come playoff time. I think he'll be well rested and definitely will be focused. We will have the better goaltender come playoff time. So one guy I did want to talk about real quick before we get into what Stamkos said earlier. How about Ross Colton, man? The guy is on fire since he's been moved on the line with Steven Stamkos. 8 goals and 9 points over his last 12 games. I know I picked Ross earlier in the year on the pod for my guy to watch this year. Started off slow, but man, he's come on strong as of late. Him and Stamkos together seem to have really clicked really well. Stamkos and Colton got together last night and actually had a really good goal against Detroit on that first goal of the game. Colton was able to put 2 goals in net last night, almost had a hat trick. Jake, man, what have you seen from Ross Colton this year to get him to where he's at right now?
He's got good line chemistry this year. He's really starting to gel with his line mates. He had to go through a couple of changes as well when the Lightning were juggling the lines around, but he's been really good at getting back to his game where he's in front of the net, finding those rebounds and putting those pucks through. It's been fantastic to see him get back to his old self like we had him in the postseason. We're going to need that to continue, especially in the postseason, so we can have that depth scoring. But Ross Colton is definitely picked it back up and put it into second gear right now as he's been scoring all over the place.
Matt, how about Ross Colton, man? What have you seen from him lately? He's really come on strong here second half of the season, so it's definitely a good sign going into the playoffs.
I think it's just developing basic skills. If there's anybody's word that I take for as law, it's Brian Engblom. I love him to death. And he just always harps on Ross Colton. As the season's gone on, his skating's gotten better, his shot's gotten better. From the start of the season, his wheelhouse has gotten larger. It's just a larger radius overall, and he's shooting the puck more. And again, just basic skills. And one of the things he's getting really good at as a goal scorer is making himself invisible, being able to read, first of all, what your team is doing and what, away from the puck, what your team is doing, and also being able to read the defense and how you can slip into some open areas, albeit maybe some of them aren't, great chances. He's had some ugly goals this year, but hey, they all count. But again, just making yourself invisible and having the defenders forget where you are, just even for if it's just a split second, that's all you need in the National Hockey League to get yourself a goal. He has gelled great with Stamkos. I'm not sure why they haven't tried that sooner, but they've looked really well together. I think those two, they've been clicking at least over the last 5-6 games. What was the stat line? He's got 9 goals, 8 assists in the last 12 games, something crazy like that. It's just he's one of those players that you can see develop every day. You know, like I'm not going to say Hedman or Vasy or Cooch have hit their ceiling, but it's like, what more can they give? What more can they do to elevate their game? Whereas Ross Colton, he's got a lot of room to grow. So I think that's why, you know, me personally, I'm so enamored with him and how he has grown and matured over the season. I think the way that he's played has gotten bigger, yet also finding a way to, again, disappear and get in some of these gritty areas, not even just like one-timer areas and just straight shots, but he's got a hard nose and he'll go to the blue paint and figure out a way to get a goal any which way. And I'd bet you $100 he finds a way to get that last goal. I'd love to see him get 20 on the season.
I think he's going to be gunning for the 20. I think a lot of the teams are kind of just underestimating his talent and his skill level, man. Dude can skate, dude can shoot. He can pretty much do it all from anywhere on the ice. So it's really good sign going forward here in the playoffs to have him and Stamkos really gelling well together. And speaking of Stamkos, there was a comment that he made today. Being consistent is having everyone on board. If you don't have everyone on board, it's tough to play. So, Jake, what do you think that means in your eyes coming from our captain?
To me, it clearly says that somebody in the locker room is kind of being a cancer. There is obviously an issue. When that comes from a guy like Steven Stamkos, it means something. That's not just a throwaway comment. He wouldn't say something like that. And it shows because the Lightning have struggled over these past couple of games, and you can see even Cooper's getting fed up, and there's been an issue, and we don't know exactly what it is, but this comment is a little concerning for me, especially coming from Stamkos. Clearly, something or somebody is not on the same page as the rest of the team, and it's affecting the way they play. So hopefully, Stamkos being the leader that he is and all the leaders they have in that locker room, they can figure it out, get on the same page, and have that switch ready to go for the playoffs. They got a couple more games here before that time comes. But, I think it just kind of confirmed what a lot of us were thinking, and that something's off with the chemistry with his team right now. As Stamkos said, they've got to have everybody on board. And if they don't have everybody on board, it's going to be an issue, especially in the postseason. So
those are some pretty big comments from Stamkos. So what do you think, man? Are you buying it, or is it panic time for Stamkos saying something like that, or do you think the frustration is just getting to a guy like Stammer?
It's alarming coming from a guy like Stamkos. If I heard it from really like anybody else on the team, I wouldn't be as concerned. But to me, Stamkos, he's the ultimate captain. He's going to have every single person on the team, whether you're a regular roster player, you're a black ace, whoever you are, he's going to make you accountable. And I don't think that there's I wouldn't be so quick to throw around the term cancer or anything like that, but it may be just somebody who maybe just checked out. I'm not entirely sure, but I'd hate to say that because, it'll happen to you, especially winning back-to-back cups. You get your two cups, you got the rest of your career to, excel at everything else. It could just be, somebody playing for a payday, who knows, and just really kind of doesn't care anymore. I'm terrified to say that, but those comments from Stamkos, again, they raise a lot of red flags. I'd hate for it to be that deep. It could just be the dog days of the season. It's not unlike the Lightning to be struggling in the late days in the season. We've seen it years past. I just hope, the same demons don't follow them if we disregard the last 2 years. I don't know. I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into it, but definitely take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah, it's exactly what you said, Matt, right? Because it's coming from Stamkos, that's where it becomes an alarming issue to me. If it was somebody else, somebody lower on the totem pole, if you will, maybe take it with a more of a grain of salt. But coming from a guy like Stamkos, there's clearly an issue. So I don't know if it's a singular person that is the issue or if it's kind of a mental thing with everybody, but it's something they've got to figure out come postseason time, because it's exactly what Stamkos said. If you don't have everybody on board, it's really hard to be consistent and playing at the best level they can. So somebody is clearly not on the same page as the rest of the team. You can hear it in some of these comments by Cooper and Stamkos as well, and hopefully they're able to figure it out soon.
It's obviously, I agree with you guys. I think coming from a guy like Stammer, it definitely means something more than we think, because it's our captain saying it, right? It's not like a sixth winger or someone on the bottom four, bottom six forwards. So obviously something's going on that we clearly can't see, because we know what this team is capable of. I don't know if we'll really find out. It might take till after the season, and we might never find out. Obviously something is definitely going on. Hopefully somebody can stand up and really get this fixed, because we're down to our final 6 games of the season. That's right, 6 games left. Obviously this year has flown by. It's had its ups, it's had its downs. The Bolts will be back in the playoffs. Man, we have the potential, as you look around the league here and in these upcoming games, we have the potential to fall to the final wild card spot. I wouldn't think that would happen this year with the Lightning, but the East is absolutely stacked. I believe that anyone in the East honestly has the potential to really make a Stanley Cup run. So this road is going to be tough. That's why I am concerned with the Bolts. Defense is my biggest concern right now. I think they got to get things going and really clog up those lanes and keep Vasy from allowing these odd man rushes, which are causing us some games. So we got the Maple Leafs coming up. Obviously, that's a huge game. Toronto can almost run away with second place at this point, which obviously it's going to bump us down to third, or it could even be the final 2 wild card spots. A big game against the Predators, and then a game at the Panthers Sunday. So these are 3 playoff teams we're going to be playing coming up. This is all 3 of these games are a big test. Obviously, the Leafs came and dominated us last time we played them, as Jake was there, unfortunately. So, Jake, man, these are 3 big games coming up. Are you kind of just looking forward to the team just getting some momentum? Do you think we kind of take our foot off the gas a little bit, or do you expect the Bolts to just go head full throttle into the playoffs?
They better not take their foot off the gas. I'm telling you, they need to get their foot on the gas, because it's not there right now. So last time we had a week like this where Toronto, Washington, and Boston, I said that was going to be a big test, and they struggled in all 3 of those games. So hopefully it's going to be different this time. Toronto is probably the biggest game out of these 3, just because the Lightning still do have a chance to take second place in the division. And while, yes, I know the Lightning are very good, even playing as the underdog team, as they've shown in the last couple of seasons, it's still nice to have home ice advantage whenever you can. So if they're able to win that game, they're down 8 points right now, but if they win the game, they're only down or 6 points. Sorry, if they win the game, they're down 4, and they still have a game in hand against Toronto. It also avoids dropping into the wild card scenario, as you mentioned, Chris. So the Toronto game is going to be big for the Lightning. The Florida one will be interesting because the Lightning could be playing the Panthers in the second round, depending on how things shake out here in the final couple of weeks. But, these, again, as you said, they're big tests for the Lightning, and this is their chance to get their mojo back, flip that switch, however you want to put it. And hopefully they'll come out on top here. And listen, I don't expect them to win every single one of these games. These are tough games, as you mentioned. But just show me signs that you're starting to play a full 60 minutes and battling against these tough teams.
Let's just not get smoked, man. No 8-2s, no 6-1s. Like, let's see some good competitive hockey. If we do lose 3-2, 2-1, something where we put up a good fight. I think that's all I have for the show tonight, guys. I want to give a shout out to our listeners and our followers at RBLR Sports. We're on all platforms of social media, Instagram, Stitch, Spotify, YouTube, we name it. I hope you guys enjoyed the show tonight. We're trying to give you guys the best content we can. Really dive deep here into the Bolts, the final 6 games of the season. My final thoughts, man, don't panic yet. We know what this team's capable of. The way you got to look at it is going down. We are in the playoffs, so someone's going to have to beat the Bolts in a best of 7. And man, if you're taking on the Bolts in a best of 7, I don't really care who you're bringing at us. That's tough to do, regardless of how we've played this season. This team's made 2 deep runs. Fatigue is obviously going to set in, and I think it has for the boys, but they know what it takes. They know what they're capable of. Obviously, a three-peat for them is something they would want to do as athletes and professional players. So keep our heads high, guys. I know it's been a rough stretch these past 2 months, but the Bolts have been through a lot of games. We know what they're capable of.
Thank you guys for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at RBLR Sports. Don't forget to check out all of our other podcasts. We got the Rays starting their season up. The Rowdies just got underway, I know, as well. So don't forget to check out all those other great podcasts too, as well, we have here on the channel. Also, if you guys could do us a big favor, if you're enjoying the content you're getting, be sure to hit that subscribe button or give us that 5-star rating, whatever platform you happen to be listening on. And don't forget to check out our store. We get tons of cool merch for each of the different teams in RBLR as well. And don't forget, if you use code BOLTS at checkout, you can get 10% off your order as well. So a cool little thing for you guys to get as well. But thank you for listening and checking us out here at RBLR.
Thank you for tuning into this presentation by RBLR Sports. On your way out of the stadium, please remember to like and subscribe.